Hey, he's the Melbourne artist who's carved out quite a reputation for sculpting, but with a chainsaw.
Now Leigh Conkie's work is set to get the big screen treatment with the help of his local community.
The work that he puts his heart into is so soulful and spiritual.
Art has been like meditation to me. I can go into some like sort of trance thing where I have no worries and no fear.
I love seeing him when he does that. I just walk away going, oh, he's in the moment that he needs to be. He does ooze charisma when he wants to, and he's quick-witted and funny.
Everyone's just assumed Leigh is like so excited and passionate and happy and all of that. But it's quite often that Leigh's the one that's really suffering inside.
It's the actual first bit of art I've done. Real art. We're supposed to be these tough blokes that don't cry and all this bullshit. But I love an emotional man that has heart and isn't afraid to show it.
He's incredible.
It's a really heartwarming story, and we're thrilled to say that Leigh Conkie and director Ryan Gaskett join us now. Good morning to you
guys.
both.
G'day, David.
Morning.
G'day, Sylvia.
Leigh, of course we want to get to the story behind the story here and the emotion behind it all. But first of all, I've got to ask, why a chainsaw?
About 30 years ago, Sylvia, I was on a building site and had to cut up a tree as a labourer. And instead of cutting up the tree, I actually carved the face. And then the boss came along and said, "What the bloody hell are you doing?" And I said, "Oh, I've carved a face." And he said, "Oh, well, I'm keeping the face, but keep on chopping up the tree." So that's how I basically started.
I carved a face. Ryan, what is it that, you know, about Leigh's character, apart from the bleeding obvious and what a legend he is, that made you think, you know, this should be told as a story?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's obviously a very interesting character, and I do remember seeing his house growing up in Eltham there. It's quite an iconic sort of place that everyone knows about. I had to do a school project where we were doing a little TV show and had to do a segment where we were doing some like neighbourhood interviews. And a friend of mine who lived across the road suggested we go over to Leigh's house, and went over there, and just walking through his house and the backyard and everything, it was just like this artist wonderland. There was just so many visual things that you could film for ages. And there was, you know, a beautiful sculpted bridge and these sculpted, you know, these weird painted mushrooms, and it was like a bit of something out of a nursery rhyme or something weird like that. And anyway, we did an interview, and it was really hilarious and interesting. And the next project I had to do was a documentary, and I decided to do it on him.
The documentary took you both to Japan to climb Mount Fuji. Leigh, tell us about that experience for you. What did it mean to you?
Well, I'd been going through some health crises and I was drinking a little bit too much, and we decided one day, well, it's actually in the documentary where I decided to climb it. It's not Everest, but it was my Everest, so yeah.
Leigh was at the point of, like, it was hard to walk. We did our first walk was 100 metres to the service station down the road, and that was just as far as you could go. So going from that to having the goal of Mount Fuji was quite a big feat.
So Leigh, how did you feel when you got to the end?
Tired.
Fair enough.
Leigh, you talk about in the documentary there, and guys, I'll get to both to speak on this, but about your emotions, about men in Australia having to hide their emotions. Here you are, you're a chainsaw artist, really, but you're still an artist and you're still a guy who feels things. Tell us how you're coping with that and how this process has helped, and was it scary to open up?
I think it was about the right time for me to voice what had happened to me as a child, and I'm a bit of a big tough bloke, and I think it's important for us tougher blokes to have emotion and show it.
Well, look, it's so important that you're doing that, but you're an incredible artist, Leigh. Thank you so much, and congratulations on the documentary as well, Ryan. We really do appreciate your time.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Sylvia.